we are going to look for wildflowers today. Wildflowers grow typically in the spring because in the spring, early spring, there's no leaves on the trees yet. So sun beats down on the forest floor, which allows these flowers to bloom. So that's what we're going to look for today. This is the Spring Beauty. It's one of the first wildflowers to bloom. It has 5 petals with little pink stripes on the petals as well. And it has 2 little basal leaves that goes from the bottom of the stem up. You can see little clumps of them pretty much everywhere. So these are called May apples, and May apples look like big green umbrellas, but the flower is underneath the leaf. So you'll see a little white flower underneath. And then when it goes to fruit, a lot of animals like to eat it, including box turtles. This is the trout lily. We have yellow trout lilies and white trout lilies. It gets its name from the leaves. As you can see, there's a little bit of brown spotting on the leaves that looks like a trout.
So we found a nice little patch of large white trillium, which is actually the state wildflower. There's 3 different types of trillium that we have here in Ohio: large white trillium, red trillium, and drooping trillium. The most common one that you'll usually find around here would be large white trillium. Large white trillium, you can identify the flower because it has 3 large white petals on them. Drooping trillium, the flower will go underneath the leaves, and in red trillium, the flower is red. This will only bloom for a week or 2. It's not a very long bloom at all, and then as it starts to get towards the end of its peak bloom, it will turn pink and then eventually die off.
This is cutleaf toothwort, and cutleaf toothwort gets its name from its leaves because it's very divided, and on the edges they have a couple of teeth, or like little serrated edges here, and it's kind of like shaped like a palm. So heavily divided leaf, and it has a little cluster of whitish flowers. This is Dutchmans Breeches. They get their name from the shape of the flower. The shape of the flower looks like an upside down pair of pantaloons. It's a very important food source for bumblebees. Bumblebees actually pollinate this flower. They will go up underneath this way, head first. They will get their food and then exit, and then they will have pollen on their bodies and go from flower to flower, and that's how they pollinate this flower.
You can find wildflowers throughout all of your metro parks. So today we're here at the Coupling Metro Park to talk about Virginia bluebells. So Virginia bluebells are a unique wildflower. They get their unique name from the way that they're shaped. Obviously they're a blue flower, but then they also are shaped kind of like a trumpet or like a bell, especially when they're drooping down and hanging over. So it's really easy to identify them. There are some other really cool facts about the Virginia bluebell. Sometimes you might notice some pink flowers and some blue flowers. The pink usually happen early on, and then the pH changes in the flower, and that will allow each flower to change from pink to blue. Bluebells are also really unique because they are a truly blue flower, and in all the flowers in the world, blue flowers only count for about 10% of your flowers. So most of our flowers are either yellow, orange, or some variation of a bright color, and blue is a pretty rare color and also make them stand out. Buttercups are a pretty unique flower for a few reasons. Number one, they have reflective properties in their cells. So those cells kind of make a little flash that show up for insects that might be flying by so they can catch a glimpse of it. Here we have Jack in the Pulpit. Really doesn't look like a flower, but they have their pretty cool name that they get from their little center part that looks what you would consider as the jack, and then the pulpit, which is the flower part kind of coming over top. So they have 3 leaves that kind of can confuse people, might look a little bit like poison ivy, and then their berries usually are in a pretty big cluster, which you won't see until later on in the summer. Sometimes, usually into fall, you'll see them as well.